Today, guys, we're going to be ranking every single Chapter 6 Season 1 weapon from worst to best. We'll not be including any Oni masks, melee, healing items, mobility, the usual stuff, medallions as well. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, guys, and at number 15, this is the one buff given to, still yet to have 4 buffs given to it, the Twin Fire Auto Shotgun. This one's very interesting because Chapter 6 Season 1 version of it is honestly maybe one of the top 10 worst shotguns of all time. But, I mean, more recently it's actually pretty decent, and I would say it's even one of the better Chapter 6 shotguns. But overall, pretty mid shotgun. Yeah, well, especially when we're talking about pretty bad shotgun. Let's just get to the next one. Alright, I am curious what you guys think about this one, but at number 14 we have the lock-on pistol. In my opinion, this is just the definition of a mid pistol, maybe just a little bit below mid. Honestly, I don't think it can really compete with the pistol above this list. It's still a pretty solid pistol, don't get me wrong, but the only really situation it's good for is when people are gliding in and you can lock onto them. Honestly, it's a pretty easy kill from there, but otherwise, pretty mid pistol, nothing much to say. Alright, just to be clear, so not including the mythic, but at number 13, we have the Ranger Assault Rifle. This is, in my opinion, just so much weaker than the 2 other assault rifles. The 2 other assault rifles will be much higher up on this list. Oh my god, it's just insane how much worse this one is than the other 2. But honestly, it's still a pretty decent assault rifle. But other than that, nothing much to say. Mid damage, low fire rate, mid reload speed, mid everything. Just a mid overall assault rifle. And at number 12, I have the Oni shotgun. This is after all of its buffs were received, which means the fire rate buff and the damage buff have both been received. So overall, this is a definition of a mid shotgun. This is, in my opinion, the third best double barrel shotgun of all time. This will be including the mythic version. And yeah, honestly, nothing much to say, but it's just pretty much just kind of like a mid shotgun. I would say, in my opinion, I like it more than the Twin Fire. As of right now, though, you could really go either way. Alright, and at number 11, we have the Suppressed Pistol. This will not be including the Mythic version, because the Mythic version was in Chapter 6, Season 2, Lawless, so we will not be including that version. So, overall, this is pretty much the definition of mid-pistol. The only reason why it gets a few points knocked down is mainly because it has 12 shots and it has a solid amount of bloom. So if it had 16 shots and less bloom, this would actually be a pretty good pistol. But overall, still pretty good pistol. Just can't really make it up that high on the list because it is indeed a pistol, and they're just mainly just not supposed to be used like as your main. Alright, on to the next one. This is going to be post nerf, so this is after the nerf, and this will be not including the mythic. But at number 10, we have the explosive or repeater rifle. In my opinion, especially after the nerf, but then they buffed it again once they took it out, which I found very confusing. Yeah, they nerfed this thing by 10 damage, which I think is a pretty considerable nerf in my opinion. But honestly, in the golden version they nerfed it down from like 85, so I guess it was more so like a 6-5 damage nerf. But yeah, they nerfed it down from like, I think 86 to 80, and the mythic version was doing 90, but then I looked at it in creative when it was in there and it only did 84. So yeah, kind of a 5 to 6 damage nerf, a pretty significant nerf honestly for any weapon, honestly. But yeah, I feel like after the nerfs, I feel like the bullet velocity was also nerfed, which didn't really help out this weapon anymore. But honestly, this is a pretty decent weapon overall. Nothing much more to say. At number 9, I have the Surge Fire SMG. This will be including the mythic post buff. So this is before, no, this is after the Searchfire SMG got buffed. In my opinion, this is like a pretty mid SMG overall. Kind of feels like a P9. It feels like it's trying to be a P90 at that peak fire rate, and honestly, it does feel like. But at that bottom fire rate, it just feels like one of the worst weapons of all time. So it's really hard to rank this weapon overall because I feel like if I was ranking at full speed, it would be top 3. But if I was ranking at bottom speed, it would be the last place on this list. So I kind of put it in the middle overall, like how the weapon feels overall. I kind of added the low fire rate and high fire rate, but overall this is still a pretty good SMG though. Tell me what you guys think on the search fire in the comments below. That's all I have to say. Alright, this will be one of 2 weapons that will be separated by their mythic. I think this one is separated by their mythic only because their mythic, in my opinion, is significantly better than the base. But I could see you wanting me to include the mythic, but, well, if you want to argue with me about that, just tell me in the comments below. At number 8 is the Base Fury Assault Rifle. So this is just going to be common through legendary. Honestly, this is a pretty good assault rifle, to be completely honest. I was thinking, honestly, like, would I take the Fury or the Scar? I would probably take the Scar, but I mean, it's honestly kind of close. This might go down as one of the more underrated assault rifles in Fortnite. Like, sure, it might be the worst one in the game right now, but it is still a really good assault rifle. Like, when I first tested it out, I was like, okay, this is the best assault rifle in the meta, but then I found the Hollow Twister and I thought otherwise. Overall, still a really good weapon, and tell me what you guys think of the Fury AR. That's all I have. At number 7, I have the Railgun. This is kind of an interesting one because it can shoot through walls, but the damage is really low. So that kind of explains it. In my opinion, this is kind of like maybe one of the more mid sniper rifles we've ever had. I feel like if it did a little bit more damage, it would be a pretty OP. If it could one-shot, that would be really OP. But I can kind of see why in Legendary version, it can only do 190 to the head and 95 to the body. So I feel like it's a pretty balanced weapon overall. It might be just a little bit higher than balanced, but tell me what you guys think on the railgun, because that's all I have. Let's get to the top 6. At number 6, this is after the bullet velocity and bullet drop change, and this will be including the mythic version, even though the mythic has identical stats to the legendary except for the reload speed. I have the hunting rifle. This is honestly a really interesting one because I feel like overall this is a pretty good sniper rifle, but then they added bullet drop to the chapter 6 version, and I don't like that at all. I like the hunting rifle the way it used to be, but honestly it's still a pretty good sniper rifle overall. That's pretty much all I got to say. Let's get to the top 5. At number 5, I have the Mythic Fury Assault Rifle. In my opinion, this version kind of just beamed due to the higher fire rate. I feel like it was a little bit, the DPS got raised significantly. Hold on, I'm going to see how much the DPS changed, and we're going to compare it to like another Mythic Assault Rifle with similar stats. Alright, just for example, the Legendary Fury has a DPS of 194, but the Mythic has a DPS of 213, so that is a 19 fire DPS, and we're going to use a very similar weapon with a very similar stats. We're going to go with the Warforged Assault Rifle. So, for example, the golden one does 30, so we're going to 37 times that. That's going to be 216, and then we got the mythic, which is only a DPS difference of 7, which is why I kind of separated, because I feel like the DPS difference really did enough for me to separate the 2 weapons, and that is why I separated the Mythic Fury from the normal Fury. But honestly, yeah, the Mythic Fury honestly beams, guys. It's honestly a really underrated assault rifle. At number 4, I have the Base Sentinel Pump Shotgun. In my opinion, the Base Sentinel Pump Shotgun is still an insanely good shotgun, and this is the point of the list where we get to the really good weapons. Honestly, this thing competes with the Spaz, in my opinion, for like the third. Well, Havoc. Honestly, second best pump shotgun of all time, in my opinion. I think maybe you could go. I think locked in top three are Havoc, Spaz, and Sentinel, and then you could maybe argue for like the Thunder or what's another good one? I know there's another good pump. Infiltrator's pretty good, but ACP, and then I think that's pretty much it. But overall, still a really good shotgun. Let's get to the top three. Just to be clear on number three, guys, this is pre-nerf, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. We'll also be including the mythic variant. At number three, pre-nerf, we got the Veiled Precision SMG. This thing, oh my lord. I forgot how OP this thing was until I watched a video on it, and I watched this thing shred through everything. I now understand why this thing was nerfed 3 times. Recoil, recoil, recoil. It got nerfed 3 times. It was nerfed once in Chapter 6 Season 1, once in Chapter 6 Season 2, and then once again in Chapter 6 Season 3. It hasn't been nerfed since, and since then, it's actually been buffed in Chapter 6 Season 4 by 0.1 fire rates and 2 magazine size. So, overall, this SMG has been through a lot this chapter, but it has sticked out through the entire chapter, and honestly, I am here for it. It is honestly, after the 3 nerfs and buff, I would say this is still a pretty solid SMG to this day. It is just nowhere near its original form. Let's get to the top 2. Alright, so this is kind of interesting. I'm including the mythic post nerf, but also pre-nerf. I think you guys might know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I'm talking about the Hollow Twister. This is, in my opinion, one of the best assault rifles of all time, but I'm talking about the damage buff the damage nerf that has been taken accounted for, but the fire rate buff has not, so keep that in mind when I rank this. If I didn't take that into account, this might be a spot lower, but obviously, guys, honestly, just you can take a lucky guess. At number 2, I got the Hollow Twister. This will be including mythic, like I said, post-nerf, but also pre-nerf. So this post-nerf, I mean by the damage nerf, and then pre-nerf, I mean by the fire rate nerf. So I'm kind of doing it in the middle, because honestly, that's where it was for the vast majority of Chapter 6, because it was nerfed after week 1, stayed the same for 6 weeks, and then it was changed, and then it was like that for the last 3 weeks. So I'm going based off what it was for the majority of the chapter, and this is how it was for the majority of the chapter. That's why my ranking is like this. Tell me what you guys think of that Hollow Twister. I think it is honestly to this day a top 5 assault rifle of all time. It is insanely good. Let's get to our number 1 spot, because I think you guys already know what it is. At number 1 post buff, we have the Sentinel Pump Shotgun. And my god, this thing, alright, now, if there was a Mythic Sentinel and a Gold Spaz, I am taking the Mythic Sentinel every day of the week. And I'm going to tell you why. Sure, it might do 9 less damage, but it does 25 more to the head, has a 20% faster fire rate, and it has a little bit more range as well, and a little bit higher consistency due to the tighter bullet spread. But overall, this is just an insane shotgun. It has been through so much. I will continue to use it even after the chapter ends. This, I mean, it is just the best shotgun by far in this chapter. It is not even close. Like, the closest one I would say is like the Outlaw. That might be the closest one. I'm not even lying. And the Outlaw's a pretty mid shotgun, so that's saying something. But overall, tell me what you guys thought of this. I thought I did pretty good. Tell me what you can do more, and then we're gonna be doing a Simpsons video very soon. That's gonna be coming out probably in 30 minutes. So keep an eye out for that. I'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, peace.